Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So for today's head-to-head comparison, we're going to take a look at the 2024 BMW X3 M Competition and the all-new 2025 BMW X3 M50. Both of these are the highest trim levels for their respective fields. We no longer have the M Comp, however, for the 25-year model. So these are the two top trim levels now that we have to take a look at. We have a huge price discrepancy as well. Very interesting to see that we don't have the M Competition for the 25-year model. But let's start off with pricing. For the 2024 year model, this starts right around $76,000. This has the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder twin power turbo. It's paired to an 8-speed automatic. It pumps out 503 horsepower, 457 pound-feet of torque. For the M50, this starts right around $64,000. It has the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder turbo along with the 48-volt hybrid system paired to the same 8-speed. However, this pumps out 393 horsepower, 428 pound-feet of torque. So significantly less than the M Competition. Both of these are all-wheel drive. 0 to 60 is going to be 3.7 seconds for the Competition, closer to 4.5 for the M50. Top speed is 170 miles an hour versus 155 for the M50. And then as far as fuel economy goes, you're looking around 15 miles per gallon in the city, 20 out on the highway for the M Competition, and then 21 and 26. So a little bit more fuel efficient for that M50. Now we have a full detailed review on the 25-year model, which kind of resembles the XM in a way with all of its body lines and shapes. But if you want to take a look at that separate full detailed review, check out that. We also have a full review on this exact X3 M Comp. So let's take a look at the exterior styling now, where we have that kidney grille, dark housings for the LEDs up front. There's a forward-facing camera, a sensor down below, all of the parking sensors, and then a lot of inlets for that lower section. The M Competition also has a very different bumper with all of those cutouts to provide a lot of cooling. Now you'll notice for the M50, it almost looks like more of a traditional X3. There's nothing too fancy about this higher trim level. We have all of the gloss black, a little bit larger of a kidney grille, but this model also has the full illuminating surround for that. There's a forward-facing camera, much different design for the headlights there. But the lower section isn't quite as aggressive. We have a lot of inlets, however, along with the ones on the edges there, but it just has a much different design to it. I like the 24 a lot better. We do have a few different lines in the hood there to give it a great look too. But as we work our way to the side for the M50, you'll notice a really nice set of wheels along with the red M Sport brakes. There's also the gloss black side mirrors with a camera, turn signal. We have the full moonroof up top along with the roof racks there. Everything is gloss black. And there's also the flush mount design for the door handles there. It has a really nice look to it. But as we work our way to the Competition model now, we have a more aggressive wheel, red M Sport brakes, and then no sunroof for this model. But as you can tell, the lines are definitely a lot different. Rear spoilers are also a little bit different. For the M50, it kind of resembles that XM, just with it being a little bit longer there, having the gloss black portion there. And then it's just a little bit different up underneath for the Competition model there. And then for the rear end designs, you'll notice that the taillights have a very distinctive difference. A little bit larger with the dark housings for the Competition versus a little bit more simple for the M50. We have kind of a squared off rear end for this model as well versus the M Competition there, but both of these do have the quad tip dual exhaust with gloss black in the lower section of the bumper there. So kind of similar with some of those designs there, as you can tell. But as we work our way to the cargo space, just by pushing on this button here, we have the power tailgate or liftgate that will open up, where you do have a good bit of space. This model has some items in it at the moment. You can also fold down the back seats if you need to. And then we have the buttons up top to close and lock that. And then for the M50, we have a much different design. So we have to reach all the way down here in order to gain access to that liftgate. So much different in that overall look. But I would say about the same amount of space, to be honest. You have storage pockets there. Up under here, you do get the spare tire, which is nice to see. And then you have the cover, that's an option. Back seats fold down as well. So very, very similar for both of those. But let's hop into the back seat space now. Take a look at the difference. So we have more of a traditional door handle for this model here, and then the interiors are going to vary just depending on how you spec it. But for this model, you get the adjustable sunshade, you get carbon fiber, and then you have the leather seats here. And at 5'10", I have a good bit of space. I have plenty of room for my knees and my feet there. You get heated seats, you get all of your climate adjustments, auxiliaries, you get the climates there, and then I have about 2.5 inches or so of headroom. So very comfortable. You sit back so you recline very nicely. There's also the armrest in the middle, which gives you 2 cup holders as well. And then you have a decent amount of visibility out of the back seats here. So it's a nice place to be. These are smaller size SUVs, but it's nice that they're practical for adults. Now you'll notice we have more of that flush design for the door handle on this model, and you cannot actually unlock it from the back. So unlike the competition, we have a much different interior. This is my first time checking out the 25-year model, but it would be nice to see that addition. So we have a much different style here with the door panel, and it's a lot more simple, I will say. But hopping into the back here, it looks like we have an area you can place some tablets, you get storage nets, you have the very funky design for these air vents, a little bit of storage and some auxiliaries, and then I have about the same amount of headroom. You notice in the X3 M Comp there was no moonroof. You get a moonroof here, which is just deleted from that model. Right in the middle you have the exposed cup holder, so that way you don't have that cover that you have to do. It looks like maybe a little bit more of a pillar right there, but the rest of the visibility looks pretty good. And I fit comfortably for its size. Now, like I said, we have full detailed reviews on both of these exact models, so I'll go through this fairly quickly, but really interesting design here with everything being on this panel here. It looks like memory seats, some air vent adjustments, you have all of your controls down below there, and then automatic front seats. And then we have a really nice design for the steering wheel. So we have that flat bottom look finished in leather. But let's start this up where we have massive paddle shifters. You have cruise control, shortcuts to music. You have settings here that you can get into. So you can actually go through quite a lot of content within the digital gauge cluster here. You can also scroll over to a few different layouts. And then there's also the head-up display. So you can go through those settings as needed. So quite a lot to go through within that digital gauge cluster there. Looks like you have an air vent control on this left side. And then for the rest of the infotainment system, it's pretty easy to go through. This is the new screen from BMW, so we've been able to review this in several vehicles now. Pretty simple, straightforward, but you actually have quite a lot to get into, including your heated and ventilated seats and heated steering wheel. Looks like there's some ambient lighting here. You have air vent controls, possibly wireless charging. There's no icon to show that, but I believe it's on the left side there. Interesting triangle right in the middle with you have cup holders there, all of your controls for that screen, volume. You have different modes that you can get into. So you can just basically change how you want the graphics to be shown. We can pull up the backup camera. So you have that shifter there with the 360 view. You can go through all these different angles depending on what you need to see. And then there's drive. You have the manual setting, park, auto hold. And it looks like we have a shortcut to the parking system as well as some of this information here. So you can go through all of that. And then you have plenty of space in the armrest there, as well as in the glove box. And then up top you have garage door buttons and then controls for that sunshade and sunroof. And then here's a look at visibility from the driver's seat. I'd say it's pretty easy to see. That pillar in the back that I showed earlier is a little bit in the way, but you would get used to it driving this out on the road. And so there's a look at the all-new M50. They have dropped the I, so it's not an M50i, it's just an M50 now. For the competition now, we get a lot of carbon fiber. We have a similar audio control or audio system. And then as we start this up, no flat bottom design for the steering wheel on this, but we also have a much different design with the screens. So we have the individual screens. For the gauge cluster here, you can still go through some information. So you just have to push on the button on the turn signal stalk in order to get through it on the right side there. So a little bit more of what I'll say, the old school, this is the previous screen, but you still have quite a lot to go through. With the competition, you also get M1 and M2, so you can adjust how you want the vehicle to set up. And then you have a heated steering wheel as well. You get storage on this left side, headlight adjustments, head-up display on this model, and then going through the infotainment system, You have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You have M menu. This is how you can go through M1 and M2, so you can configure all of this information. You have nav, phone, media, quite a lot that you can scroll through with the widgets and everything. So kind of similar to the new model. You get carbon fiber. You have another screen here, heated and ventilated seats, heated steering wheel like I showed earlier. There is wireless charging down below with cup holders. You have the same adjustments there. Different shifter. I know a lot of people like the actual shifter here, where you have very similar graphics for the 360 view there. You have transmission adjustments, parking sensors, forward camera. You even have M mode too, so you can actually change the gauge cluster to be more sporty. You have an exhaust note button as well, auto hold, e-brake, storage in the middle, storage in the glove box, garage door buttons up top, and then like I said, no sunroof for this model, but that is an option, I believe, for the 24-year models. And then that pillar's not as bulky, so you can see over that right side pretty easily. But to me, right off the bat, just with this quick comparison, without getting them out on the road yet, to me, I would want to go with the M Competition. Even though it's more expensive, you get a lot more performance driving. You don't get any of that carried over to the M50, which is very interesting. But let's go ahead and get both of these out on the road, see how they drive. As we set off now behind the wheel for the all-new M50, this is my first time getting behind the wheel for this model. My brother did a full review on this car, so if you'd like to see all of the details, take a look at that. We'll give this a little bit of gas. That actually sounds really good. For not having an exhaust note button, for not having any adjustments like the M Competition, that's not bad. I like the size of these paddles here. It's definitely a funky interior when you see all of these different shapes and everything. It's much different for this newest model. But I mean, it definitely sounds good. It doesn't have as much horsepower, which is interesting to see that they don't have a model like that. I know the X3 is now BMW's most popular selling SUV, so maybe a lot of people didn't buy the competition model. It's interesting why they wouldn't go with the same power or have that option. Maybe that's something that will come in the future. Turning radius is also very tight. This is a small SUV, so it's something that's going to be great for city driving, and for its smaller size, it definitely has a lot to offer. But the new X3, very comfortable so far for this quick test drive. It's got a nice interior to it, really nice integration with that large screen there. Seats are comfortable too. We have those power adjustments. I like it. It's a nice new style, very different from the previous, as you will see here in a second, but it's nice. Feels very similar to a lot of the other 24 and 25-year models from BMW, where they have a lot of the newer integrations, newer steering wheel, things like that. So to me, there's plus and minuses to both of them, but in general, it's a nice vehicle. It's not extremely performance oriented, but it's going to give you, some power, some performance. I'm sure the handling isn't going to be quite as similar, but it's a nice vehicle to drive from point A to point B. So let's hop behind the wheel now for the Competition and see the difference. And behind the wheel now for the M Competition. As you can tell, much different for the interior, even different in this section here. But this is the model that I think I would personally go with, just because we have so many different adjustments. And again, I've made a full video on this exact model, so if you want to see more of the test drive, take a look at that separate review. But to me, this just has what you would want for the top trim level from any vehicle really. But with the X3, the Competition is known for being BMW's most performance oriented version. And it's just interesting to see that, at least for now, the 25-year model just has the M50, which is still somewhat performance oriented, but just not as much. Not nearly the same power, not nearly the same, really anything. So I know they're not really like direct competitors, but they're both the top trim levels. You just get a lot more handling, you get the exhaust, you get just a lot more compared to the newer model. And even just driving it like normal, you can make this a toned down you can put it into efficiency and just have a really nice daily driver. Seats are also very comfortable too. We got that rear shifter down below there, and you got a really cool SUV. So personally, I would go with the competition model, unless they come out with something for the M50. I don't know my thoughts on that SUV just yet. This is, to my personal taste, I like this competition a lot more. So back from our test drive now with the all-new X3 M50 and the X3 M Competition. Honestly, I would go with the 24-year model. I don't know why, unless BMW hasn't done it yet for the 25-year model, maybe they'll come out with a more performance-oriented version. Like I mentioned, this is BMW's most popular selling SUV. The X5 used to be, but I think now the X3 has kind of edged it out slightly. Honestly, both are really cool. New one is a little bit funky. I do like the 24-year model a lot better. I like the performance. I like the M1 and M2 buttons. I like going through all of that technology a little bit more for my taste. You can't go wrong with either one though. You do have a much cheaper 25-year model than the outgoing 2024. So really just depends on what you'd like to spend. A used M Comp is still going to cost more than a brand new M50. So it really just depends on what you want to spend, which one you like better, and the performance that you are looking to get. So comment down below, let me know, would you rather have the M Comp or the M50? Again, if you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.